In other news, solving crimes can be very tough. Beyond gathering evidence, just getting witnesses to come forward can be a process. When it comes to victims who identify as transgender, solving violent crime cases can be even more difficult. As Scripps reporter Chris Stewart shows us, people can be reluctant to come forward.
From the moment I stepped into Anthony Redgrave's office.
So I've got a couple here that I did the forensic art for. This is the most recent one.
It became clear what it takes to do his work is something most will never understand.
Harris County Doe, they were found in 2019.
While you may have heard terms like John Doe or Jane Doe, remains of people who cannot be identified. Here at his nonprofit, the Trans Doe Task Force, many of the cases they focus on are where unidentified remains may be someone who is transgender. In some cases, it can be difficult for authorities. If the remains of someone who identified as a woman were found, but police identified them as male based on skeletal remains, it could send law enforcement in the wrong direction.
People will automatically assume, oh, the police are here to protect us and they'll know what to do. But the fact of the matter is they don't know everything about every single community.
Take the case known as the Pillar Point Doe, a person found stabbed to death in 1983, not far from San Francisco.
This individual was assigned male and wearing feminine coded clothing and was found within hours of death on the beach.
Although they had female characteristics, the medical examiner listed the body as that of a male.
The neglect to include that they were wearing feminine clothing at the time, I'm sure, contributed to the identification taking, 40 years.
In 2018, Anthony and his team took on the case. They worked with a sketch artist who created this image that looked more female than the sketch authorities originally put out. Here it is on the government's database for missing and unidentified persons.
There were multiple forensic images that came out before this went to DNA, and none of them showed them presenting as female.
Using DNA, they eventually tracked down the identity of Pillar Point Doe.
What is the moment like when you solve a case?
I cry every time. And it's never going to get easier, and I don't want it to get easier.
While police now know who the victim is, they haven't arrested a killer.
Especially with these older cases, there's a feeling of relief because there's always this hope that they're going to come home when you don't know.
Jesse Velstra showed me the papers that go into their database of missing and murdered members of the LGBTQ community. It helps police match identities with remains.
Even with people who know their family members are deceased, but their bodies haven't been found. It's an intensely painful situation.
As someone who is transgender, Anthony will tell you this work is personal.
If my life had taken one step in a completely different direction, or even a slightly different direction, I could be one of these people.
But he hopes everyone sees this as important, no matter how they identify.
And these are people who are just as deserving of having their case closed and just as deserving of having their family be notified as anybody else, because everyone matters.
In Orange, Massachusetts, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.